Welcome to this presentation, 5 minimum qualifications for becoming a certified legal nurse consultant. And as I talk about these minimum qualifications, understand that I think we all agree it's a given that knowledge and experience are essential. Attorneys are hiring you for your knowledge of nursing, medicine, the healthcare system, the inner workings of the healthcare system. And they're hiring you for your experience because sometimes that hands-on experience, you're going to pick up on things that somebody reading a medical chart who's never worked in the OR, or never worked in a pediatric unit or med-surg unit or psych, they're not going to be able to pick up. So that's definitely a given. Attorneys want your knowledge, they want your experience. They are, however, mixed on credentials. I've seen some attorneys, they could care less about the letters behind your names. Others are quite impressed with it. So the qualifications that we are going to talk about here today really have nothing to do with your experience or your knowledge or letters behind your name. Instead, we're going to be talking about those minimum qualifications that attorneys are going to expect of you in addition to your knowledge and your experience as a registered nurse. Number 1 qualification. Attorneys expect that you're going to be an articulate communicator. Now, I think we would all agree that communicating effectively is a must in every profession. And as a certified legal nurse consultant, you're going to be dealing with large volumes of medical records. So communicating effectively and efficiently is an absolute core requirement. You have to be able to communicate this mass amount of information to these attorneys. 2 important things to understand about attorneys. Number 1, lawyers are crazy busy. All right, so they don't have time to extract what you mean from a rambling conversation or an unfocused report. They expect that you are communicating to them in a concise way, and they're expecting to receive from you relevant communication. Number 2, lawyers are very bottom line driven. In other words, they require a big picture. They want to understand the global picture even before you start hitting them with lots of details. And they are expecting you to be articulate and to be able to really communicate a case, but also in a way that is brief. And so they need you to get down to the bottom line. In fact, it's very interesting because everything your nursing instructors taught you about how to communicate patients and their progress in many ways doesn't work with attorneys. So for example, if a nurse is reporting on a patient and says, patient Smith was admitted to the emergency department on March 1st, 10 a.m., vital signs were, and they start getting into details about the person's assessment. At this stage, the attorney's probably wanting to take their hand and wrap their hand around your neck. No, they want to understand the essence of the case before you give them the details. So with attorneys, it's very much a matter of style. And that's what we try to teach you in the certification program, is how to communicate with attorneys on their turf. Just to give you an example, I'll never forget one of my first attorneys that I ever worked with. Talked to him about a case, and he looks at me and he says, okay, let me just summarize what you just said. And he articulated this case in 2 or 3 amazing sentences. In other words, he took all this detail and he got down to the bottom line. So this is what we're really going to focus on with you, how to communicate with these attorneys in the way that they like to be communicated to. Also, to be articulate, you have to be a good listener. In other words, it's really hard to communicate with an attorney if you're not listening. And I know it sounds basic, but in today's world, I think we do have a lot of challenges with this. And I notice that even when I'm mentoring sometimes a certified legal nurse consultant, I feel that I can tell if they're listening or if they're not listening just by how they're communicating with me. If you listen to that attorney is going to tell you what you need to say, how you need to respond. You see, they're going to let you know, all right, I'm hearing you, but it's time to move on. Or their interest level is going to show you that, yeah, they want more detail. They're hungry for more of that detail. So being a good listener, paying attention, and even looking for those nonverbal cues helps you to be a more articulate communicator. Qualification number 2. Attorneys expect that you are a detective of the details. And I know that you've all heard that expression, the devil is in the details. And in legal nurse consulting, for sure, those details can be the difference between winning and losing a case for an attorney. You're the only person on that litigation team that is going to read the entire medical record. And if you do it right, you're going to pick up on things that no one else on that team finds. Not even the MD expert, and that's probably because the MD expert doesn't really read the entire medical record. So you're going to look like the hero because nurses are much more detailed and you are willing to be that detective of that detail. And you're going to be able to find those little smoking guns that make all the difference in the outcome of that case. Now, again, as a CLNC consultant, you have to be able to find both the detail but not get lost amidst a mass of medical records, because sometimes you're dealing with large volumes of medical records. So you've got to stay focused. You've got to stay focused on what is this case really about? What's the essence of the case? And not get lost with this information that might be interesting, but it takes you nowhere except down a huge rabbit trail. So you want to be very careful with that. And again, this is an important part of what we're teaching you in terms of, what attorneys need to develop their cases, to win their cases, either plaintiff or defense, and how to stay efficient with these attorneys and how to stay relevant with these attorneys. The number 3 qualification, attorneys expect you to be an objective evaluator. Now, if you think about this, when you come into legal nurse consulting, you're bringing your nursing experiences with you. You're bringing your experiences with patients. You're bringing experiences with other nurses, with MDs, with administration. So you're bringing all of that nursing experience into legal nurse consulting. Naturally, you might have some certain biases, right? But you've got to check those biases at the door. You're not going to be of any value to that attorney unless you're objective. The attorney does not need a vigilante for injured people if you're working on the plaintiff side representing injured people. If you're on the defense, the attorney doesn't need the certified legal nurse consultant to be the protector of those overworked, underpaid, registered nurses at the bedside. What they need from you are solid, objective, candid opinions. They have to be able to trust that. So that's part of what we're going to teach you, is how to check yourself and QA yourself through research and through standards. So the attorney's not just interested in Vicky's opinion or John's opinion or Mary's opinion. They're interested in the opinion of the profession. And by supporting your opinion with the research and with the standards, that helps you to ensure that you do stay objective. Number 4 qualification. Attorneys expect that they're hiring you as a consultant and therefore are expecting you to be a bold advisor. And that's even when it might be something they don't want to hear. So when you think about this, when you come into legal nurse consulting, you're a specialist in your own right. So you're an expert in your actual specialty in nursing. You're an expert on nursing in general, on the inner workings of the healthcare system, and many of you even know a lot of medicine. So with that expertise, with that knowledge, has to come that conviction of or in your opinions and your recommendations. You have to have solid conviction. And it's important to know that, attorneys, they're not always going to like your opinion, right? Because sometimes you're telling a plaintiff attorney the case has no merit, and they might not want to hear that. Or you're telling a defense attorney, this is the worst case of negligence I've seen in my entire 15 years of nursing practice. and they might not want to hear that. But your job is to tell it like it is or like it isn't. And that requires being bold. That requires being willing to take a stand. Again, it's important to understand you're not there to give the attorney what you think the attorney wants to hear. It can actually hurt that attorney. You have to tell it like it is. So there's no benefit, as an example, if you tell a plaintiff attorney a case has merit when it doesn't, that attorney could actually lose huge sums of money, because it can cost up to $200,000 just to pursue a medical malpractice case, or $1 million to pursue a products liability case. If you're on the defense attorney, there's no benefit in telling that defense attorney that a case is defensible when it's not. That defense attorney can lose that case to the plaintiff, and they can end up actually losing a very significant contract with their insurance company as a result. So you have to be bold, and attorneys have to really hear from you the true merits of that case. Understand that you can't just expect the attorney, when you give an opinion, to pat you on the back and say, thank you very much, what a smart nurse you are. No, they're going to challenge you, they're going to probe, and they have to do that the way an attorney expressed it to me. He said, I don't just prepare my case, I have to prepare the opposition's case as well. So when you're communicating with these attorneys, they are going to challenge you. And in fact, I would not want to work or consult with an attorney who doesn't challenge me, right? They have to do that in order to prepare not just their case, but the opposition's case as well. That's their job. So don't let that put you off. They're still expecting you to tell it like it is. They really need that from you. I'll give you one example. One of our certified legal nurse consultants, I actually recently video recorded him, and he shared that an attorney had hired him to review a case for merit. And about halfway into the medical records, it was a large volume of medical records, he advised the attorney, hey, I don't think I need to go further. This case is not meritorious, and he tried to explain why. The attorney was pretty convinced that the case was meritorious, especially because it had been referred to him by another attorney. And so he said, look, I'd like you just to go ahead and finish it out, dig a little deeper, and see what you find. The CLNC, he dug deeper, he finished out the case, he came back to the attorney and he said, okay, same opinion, the case is not meritorious. Ultimately, the attorney thanked him for being bold in his stance, because the referring attorney had kind of suggested in a very strong way that yes, this is a very good case, and he trusted Robert, and now he sends the certified legal nurse consultant all of his cases, you see. So attorneys, they do expect that of you. Even if they challenge you, they ultimately are going to learn to trust you and really go with what you have to say. Now, while you do have to be strong in rendering an opinion, I think it's also important to be open-minded. And I know I certainly, over the years, when talking to an attorney and hearing their point of view, have had to rethink my position. So I'm not talking about being stubborn or inflexible. And that's what this, again, the certification program is going to teach you, is how to be bold without coming across as being stubborn or inflexible or not really listening to your attorney client. Number 5 qualification. Attorneys expect that you will be systemized. All right, so what do I mean by that? Every case that you work on is going to be different. And not only is the case different, but you are dealing with large volumes of medical records. But the attorney is going to expect the same quality work product from one case to another. So, in fact, that number 10 case, they're probably going to expect it's even better than the number 1 case that you worked on for that attorney. There's a system. There's a system to analyzing a case. You can't just wing it, okay? Also, there's a system to writing that case up. It doesn't really matter what your nursing knowledge or experience is, because that's one aspect of the analysis. The other aspect of this business is understanding what attorneys need, how these attorneys think, and how they expect you to write and construct reports. Obviously, that's my job in teaching the CL&C certification program. I want to stress that you want to be very careful to not just go out there and try to wing it. You have to understand what you're doing or you won't be successful. I know my first attorney client, he pretty much paid my mortgage. And so you don't want to think of any attorney as, okay, this is a dress rehearsal, I'll just check it out. I think every attorney is going to be very significant to your business. And I've heard so many times how very successful consultants tell me some of their best attorney clients are the first attorneys that they're working with. Don't set yourself up for failure. You want to make sure you're doing this the right way. And you've got to do it right from the beginning. Also, please understand, even though there's a lot of attorneys, there's almost 2 million attorneys here in the US, attorneys within each category of case, like med mal or products liability, toxic tort, personal injury, they all know each other on some level. So if you do a good job, that word is going to spread. If you do a bad job, obviously that can ruin your reputation as a consultant. Qualified or unqualified? Are you articulate? Number 2, do you like to play detective? Number 3, can you be objective? Number 4, are you bold in discussing your viewpoints? And number 5, are you organized and can you be systemized? If you answered yes to these 5 qualifications, then you're the type of registered nurse that attorneys are looking for, and you're the ideal candidate to become a certified legal nurse consultant.